The bargain morning light filtered through Horizon Station's curved viewports, casting long shadows across the trading floor. Nathan Reed adjusted his worn maintenance jacket, feeling the weight of solitude as he navigated the crowded marketplace. 6 years on, this remote outpost had taught him to blend in, to fix machines and avoid attention. But today, something pulled him toward the administrative sector's side corridor. Debt auction in progress, announced the electronic sign. Rehabilitation through service. Nathan paused, watching 3 blue-skinned figures standing on the small platform. Vishari women, their distinctive silver-white hair and azure complexions unmistakable. Their eyes remained downcast as the administrator droned on about restitution for outstanding debts and productive reassignment. Starting bid for all 3. 8 credits, the administrator announced. Voice tinged with boredom, Nathan felt something twist in his chest. 8 credits. Less than a decent meal at the station canteen? The small crowd of potential buyers murmured among themselves, most eyeing the strongest-looking one for dock work or worse. His daughter Emma would have been 8 today. The thought came unbidden, painful. The accident that took her and Laia had left him hollow, working mechanical jobs across frontier stations where questions weren't asked. 8 credits, Nathan said, surprising himself. The administrator looked up, startled. Sold to the maintenance worker. Transfer complete. The 3 Vishari women followed Nathan silently through the corridor. The tallest one, muscles tense beneath her threadbare station-issue clothes, watched him warily. The smallest, her fingers stained with what looked like pigment, kept her distance. The third, her posture eerily perfect, analyzed everything around them. "My name is Nathan," he said when they reached his small quarters. "You're not servants here. You're free." The tallest one narrowed her eyes. "Freedom costs more than 8 credits." "I'm Destra," the one with perfect posture finally spoke. "This is Iridia." She gestured to the smallest one, and Tovel, the tallest one. "Why did you buy us?" Toval demanded. Nathan gestured to his sparse quarters, the single room with folding partition, small kitchenette, and viewport showing the stars beyond. "I work maintenance. Live alone. Station residents avoid me because I'm different. Thought maybe you could use somewhere safe." Iridia stepped forward, pigment-stained hands trembling slightly. "They were sending us to the mining outposts." "Not anymore," Nathan said firmly. "Legally, you're my dependents now. But actually, you're just people who needed help." Toval's stance softened marginally. "People don't help for nothing." "Maybe they should," Nathan replied, turning to prepare a simple meal from his rations as night cycle began. Nathan showed them the partition for privacy, gave them the bed while he took the floor, and explained station protocols. No one spoke much, but when he awoke in the night, he found Destra watching the stars through the viewport, silver tears on her blue cheeks. "Our world was beautiful once," she whispered. "Tell me about it someday," Nathan answered softly. Morning arrived with a notification on his terminal. Community complaint filed. Improper residential arrangement. Inspections scheduled. The sanctuary he offered would come with a price. "Shattered trust, they're going to separate us," Iridia whispered, her blue fingers nervously twisting the fabric of her borrowed shirt. Outside Nathan's quarters, the station's white corridors hummed with the usual activity. But inside, tension thickened the air. Nathan studied the notification again. "Not if I can help it. The station charter has provisions for family units." Toval scoffed, muscular arms crossed defensively. "We aren't family." "Not yet," Nathan replied, his voice steady despite the uncertainty gnawing at him. "But legally, I've registered you as my dependents with protected status." He'd spent his shift break researching station regulations, finding an obscure clause about frontier family formation, a holdover from early colonization days when traditional family structures couldn't survive the harsh realities of space. Destra moved with quiet grace to stand beside him, studying the terminal. These rules were meant for human partnerships. "Rules can adapt," Nathan said, "just like people." A sharp knock interrupted them. Nathan opened the door to find Supervisor Morik, a thin man with permanent disapproval etched into his features, flanked by 2 security officers. Reed Morrick said coldly, "This arrangement violates multiple regulations." "It doesn't," Nathan countered, passing over his tablet. Section 47B, Frontier Family Clauses. "I've filed all proper documentation." Reek's frown deepened as he scrolled. "You can't just—" "I did," Nathan interrupted. "Everything's legal." The supervisor handed back the tablet with undisguised contempt. "The residents are concerned about ... impropriety." Nathan felt heat rising in his face. "There's nothing improper about offering sanctuary." Morrick's gaze slid past him to the 3 Vishari women. "You have 24 hours to convince the residential committee this is legitimate, or they'll be reassigned." He leaned closer. "Nobody wants your kind of trouble, Reed." After they departed, silence fell heavy across the room. "They hate us," Iridia said quietly. "They fear difference," Destra corrected. Toval paced the small space. "We should leave." "Find another station." "With what resources?" Nathan asked. "Without documentation, you'd be detained immediately." That evening, they shared a meager meal, conversation gradually shifting from survival to small personal revelations. Destra had been a cultural scholar before her university's funding collapsed. Iridia created pigments for ceremonial artwork. Toval had trained as a protection specialist for diplomatic missions. "And you?" Toval asked Nathan. "Why does a maintenance worker understand legal codes?" Nathan's eyes clouded. "I wasn't always a mechanic. I had a family once. Wife, daughter. Transport accident 5 years ago. Understanding passed between them, the universal language of loss. Later, as station night cycle dimmed the corridor lights, Nathan found Destra helping him organize documentation for the committee. "On our world," she said softly, "family is chosen as often as it is born." Nathan looked up, meeting her eyes. "On Earth too? Sometimes." Her blue fingers hesitated near his hand. "If we must pretend to be family for survival, perhaps we should understand what that means to each other." The moment was broken by an alert on Nathan's terminal. Their hearing had been moved up. Morning would bring a reckoning outside. Spread through the station. The maintenance worker who bought 3 aliens now claimed them as family. Some called it perversion, others a mockery. Few recognized it as the desperate bid for connection it truly was. Finding balance, dawn found Nathan and his 3 companions seated before the residential committee. 5 stern-faced station officials behind a curved table. The hearing room's sterile lighting made the Vishari women's blue skin appear almost luminescent against the stark white walls. "This arrangement cannot continue," announced committee head Daniels, a gray-haired woman with eyes like polished steel. "It undermines the social fabric of our community." Nathan leaned forward. "With respect, nothing in the station charter prohibits chosen family units, regardless of species." "This isn't about species," Daniels countered. Though her gaze lingered on the silver-white hair of the 3 women, "it's about order and propriety." Destra rose with unexpected grace. "On Vashara, we have a tradition called Kethlarai, the binding of souls who find each other in darkness." Her voice carried a quiet strength that commanded attention. "It is considered more sacred than blood relation because it is chosen despite hardship," Iridia added softly. Nathan offered us shelter when others saw only commodities. The committee exchanged uncomfortable glances. One member, a younger man with kind eyes, asked, "What exactly is the nature of your relationship?" "We're learning," Nathan answered honestly. "But isn't that what any family does?" After tense deliberation, they were granted a 30-day probationary period sufficient for the committee to save face while avoiding an outright rejection of Nathan's legal position. Back in their quarters, the tension broke like a thunderstorm. "You want us gone," Toval seethed, pacing the small space. "But we're still here," Nathan countered. "That's what matters." The following days established a fragile routine. Nathan continued his maintenance shifts while teaching the women station protocols and human customs. They, in turn, shared Vishari knowledge, Destra's historical insights, Iridia's artistic techniques, Toval's self-defense methods. One evening, Nathan returned to find the quarters transformed. Iridia had painted delicate blue-silver patterns around the viewport, reminiscent of Vishari constellations. Destra had reorganized the living space, according to her people's principles of harmony. Even Toval had fabricated compact storage solutions from scrap materials. "You didn't need to do this," Nathan said, touched. "A home reflects those who dwell within it," Destra explained. That night the barriers began to fall. They shared stories of their worlds, Nathan's childhood in Earth's recovering coastal regions. Destra's studies in Vishari's ancient crystal libraries. Iridia's apprenticeship with master pigment creators. Tovel's training in the mountain temples. When Nathan described Emma's laughter and Laya's smile, his voice broke. Without comment, Iridia placed her blue hand over his. Tovel squeezed his shoulder. Destra simply sat beside him, her presence an anchor. "On Vishara," Destra said gently, "we believe souls call to each other across stars and time." Nathan looked at these three strangers, who were no longer strangers. Maybe they do. Outside, the station continued its cycles. Whispers still followed them through corridors. Security watched their movements. But within their small sanctuary, something unnameable was taking root. Fragile, yet determined. Like the first seedlings on terraformed soil, the confrontation 3 weeks into their arrangement. The warning came from an unexpected ally, Technician Jen, who worked maintenance shifts alongside Nathan. "They're planning something," Jen whispered during a repair job. Heard Morik talking with security about resolving the alien situation. Cathan's hands stilled on the circuitry panel. When tomorrow? Night cycle. That evening, their quarters felt smaller, constricted by impending threat. Nathan outlined what he'd learned. "We should prepare to leave," Toval insisted, already inventorying their meager possessions. Nathan countered. "Any shuttle departure requires authorization we don't have." Dra studied the station schematics Nathan had pulled up. Perhaps separation is what they expect. Division makes us vulnerable. What if we make this public? Iridia suggested, her artist's mind seeking unexpected patterns. Most conflicts here happen in shadows. They worked through the night. Iridia creating striking imagery of their story. Destra drafting a formal statement citing both human and Vishari cultural precedents. Toval securing their quarters. Nathan reaching out to the handful of station residents who'd shown kindness. When morning cycle arrived, they broadcast their message station-wide. Not a plea, but a declaration. They stood together in the central commons for figures against the backdrop of stars. "We are family by choice," Nathan announced, his voice carrying across the suddenly hushed space. "Not by species or birth, but by decision and commitment." Security arrived within minutes, Morik leading with barely contained rage. "This unauthorized gathering violates nothing," Destra interrupted, stepping forward. "Public spaces are guaranteed for all residents under Section 12 of the station charter." The growing crowd murmured. Station residents had stopped to watch, some filming the confrontation. "These aliens were purchased for labor," Morik spat. "This charade was a legal adoption," Nathan corrected firmly. "Documented and filed." Something shifted in the watching crowd, discomfort. Yes, but also recognition. On frontier stations, many had formed unconventional bonds out of necessity and companionship. How different was this, really? Morik signaled security to advance, but they hesitated as the crowd pressed closer. Among them stood June and others from maintenance. The elderly shopkeeper who'd sold them food without judgment, medical staff who'd treated Iridia's respiratory difficulties without question. The committee already ruled, a voice called out, the younger committee member with kind eyes. "They have their probationary period." "Which they've disrupted with this display," Morik countered. "Actually," said another voice, belonging to a station legal officer who pushed through the crowd, "they've demonstrated precisely the mutual support and unity that defines family units under frontier regulations." The standoff stretched like an over-tightened cable. Then Tovel did something unexpected. She knelt, followed by Destra and Iridia, each placing a hand over their heart, then extending it toward Nathan. Keflarai Destra explained to the watching crowd, The choosing of family across differences, a sacred bond. Nathan, understanding the significance, returned the gesture. Security lowered their restraints, uncertain. The moment balanced on a knife's edge. A family forged 1 month later. Nathan stood in the expanded quarters that now properly housed all 4 of them. The residential committee had reluctantly approved their permanent family status following a community vote that surprised everyone with its margin of support. "Your identification cards," Nathan said, handing each woman their official station credentials. No longer marked as temporary or indentured, but as permanent residents with full rights. Iridia traced the holographic emblem with wonder. "I never thought I'd hold proper documentation again." "The committee representative actually smiled today," Toval remarked. Still sounding suspicious of their good fortune, Destra arranged the cards beside the family portrait Iridia had painted. 4 figures of different colors and forms, yet undeniably connected. Change comes slowly, then suddenly. Their victory had rippled throughout the station. 3 other mixed-species families had come forward, emboldened by their example. The station council was drafting new guidelines for interspecies family formations. Even Morik had been reassigned after evidence emerged of his involvement in exploitative labor practices. "Nathan?" Destra's voice pulled him from his thoughts. "Someone's at the door." He opened it to find Jun and several other maintenance workers holding containers of food and drink. "Housewarming," Jun explained with a grin. "Traditional Earth custom, when family gets a new home, small gathering grew as others arrived. The committee member with kind eyes, the legal officer who'd supported them, neighbors who'd once been suspicious but now brought small gifts and curiosity. As the night progressed, Nathan found himself standing beside Destra near the viewport, watching stars while conversation flowed behind them. "I never thought I'd find belonging again," she said softly. "After losing our world, I thought the same," Nathan admitted. "After losing my family," her blue fingers entwined with his. "Perhaps we were both wrong." Across the room, Iridia was teaching human children the art of Vashari pigment making, their small hands turning blue with delight. Toval was deep in conversation with security officers about integrating Vashari defense techniques into station training. 8 credits, Nathan mused. "Strangest investment I ever made." Destra's laughter was like distant bells. "The universe has its own mathematics." Later, as their guests departed and night cycle dimmed the corridors, the 4 sat together in comfortable silence. No longer strangers, no longer merely survivors, something far more profound. "On Earth," Nathan said, "there's an old saying, family isn't always blood." Toval nodded. "On Vashara, we say hearts recognize their own across any distance." Iridia smiled. Perhaps our worlds weren't so different after all. Outside their viewport, the stars continued their ancient dance, indifferent to the boundaries between species. Inside, a family born of necessity and nurtured by choice had found its constellation distinct stars, forming a pattern that hadn't existed before, yet now seemed inevitable. For the price of 8 credits and the courage to stand against convention, they had created something the universe had never seen, yet desperately needed, proof that connection transcends difference, that family can be forged across the stars and on Horizon Station. That proof now shined like a beacon for others to follow.